Today's our last year for Tafshin Pei Dalet, basically, and I want to make sure we get to learn. So the month of Elul sponsored Leilui Nishmas Bani Silver, Bas Yefega, Bas Yisrael, Leilui Nishmas Avram Chai ben Yosef Shimon, for the Refuah Shleim of Moshe Asher ben Malka, Le'erachel Bas Chaya, sponsored by the Kozlovsky family, and also by the Postin family, Leilui Nishmas Freda Sima Bas Yitzchak. What we're going to do today is we're going to be finishing, what chapter is this? Chapter 8 in Tikkun Medina, and it's perfect timing to finish this before the year is over, right before the year is over. I was actually thinking like maybe we should do something like for Rosh Hashanah and everything, but I feel like this is more online with like getting like attaining a certain level of das moving into the new year than any other thing that I could imagine right now that I could think of. So I'm gonna quickly, what we're gonna be doing today, we're gonna be finishing the 4 different groups. He was talking about political parties, but the 4 different groups of Jews that were standing on the shores of the Red Sea of the Yam Suf. And we covered 3 of the groups last week, corresponding to the 3 lower worlds of Kabbalah, which is Asiya, Bria, and Yetzira. And today we're going to be doing Olam Atzilus, the highest world, Kabbalistically speaking. But again, just to remind ourselves what these 4 groups represented, who they were. Remember, we're at Yam Suf. We're trying to figure out, do we cross? What do we do at this point? We're running away from Egypt. What do we do? We're stuck. It's a conundrum. And there were 4 groups. One said, let's give up. Let's go back to Egypt. The other group said, let's stay and fight. The third group said, let's go run away to the desert. And the fourth group said, let's go right into the water. And we described how the first 3 groups correspond to 3 different political chaps of like what should be done and what shouldn't be done. We did that last week, and it's very important, and I don't want to spend too much time on that, but I want to speak about the end, L'maisa. How does Rav Ginsburg say, how does a Yid choose to move forward in today's day and age? Come. What do we do? Who's the 4th group? Now, the 4th group was led by Nachshon ben Aminadav. What does the 4th group look like today? What's the 4th group today? In our current situation that we're in, we could either give up and not be scared of assimilation, and just like many schools of thought said, or we could just fight without thinking about what we're really trying to attain through fighting. And that's been a big taina, a big claim by parties that maybe are up for the fighting, but they're saying this type of fighting has no, like they always say about Bibi, that he has no like end game. There's no clear destination. There's just like, let's just keep on fighting and prolonging a final solution. I hate saying those words, but you know what I mean in the context of what to do here. And then there's another group which he said was very interesting. He said there's a group that says, let's just run away and go into the desert. And he likened that to groups that are only focused on making sure they can maintain what their own kehilas need. So he said that's also the religious right-wing parties, and he also said that's also the left-wing parties that are just saying the world of academia. Let's just invest everything in our world of academia and make sure that everything will be taken care of if we just focused in on that. But there's a 4th group, and that's the 4th group that is represented by Nachshon ben Aminadav that says, let's go and lehit kadem. Now, lehit kadem means to go forward. In their situation, what did Lehit Kadem look like? Go into the water. Mesiras Nefesh. Why? Because Lama titzak elai, daber bnei Yisrael ve'yisau.
So they had a tzivui.
The tzivui, right.
Did they believe enough to take the risk of walking up to your...
Now this is also this plays a very big role in understanding like the notion of going forward into the water was getting me closer to the destination. What was the destination? What was the reason we came out of Egypt? Har Sinai. What's the reason we came to Eretz Yisrael and built this country? Beit HaMikdash, Malchus Hashem, Mashiach, Geula, redemption. That's the reason why we came here and built it. And the woman shir on Sunday, someone was speaking about Hatikva and the confusion of I brought up the confusion of the words of the Hebrew of the anthem. The anthem says, "Od lo avda tikvateinu." All right, our tikva, our hope is not lost, because the tikva, the hope is how old? It's 2,000 years old. What? And then it says what the hope is. To be what? Liot am chofshi be'artzeinu. That's not.
Means from the roads.
Yeah, but that's not the 2,000 years of hope. The 2,000 years of hope was Liot am shechoseh la'artzo u'mamlich et Hashem al kol ha'olam. Right. So I know it's funny how this room is so eclectic. You have yeshiva shechevra, totally ba'al tshuva chevra. Very few of us actually in this room right now grew up like stark Bnei Akiva, but it puts the most pressure on those that grew up with having the anthem being their Kodesh Kodashim, and I grew up like that, and I still say it, but I have my own kavanah when I say it. And obviously I do it, I still will get up and say it, especially after the mamish, so much Jewish blood has been spilled in the name of the anthem. It needs to be elevated, it needs to be lifted up.
You feel like it was spilled in the name of the anthem?
No. I'm saying that so many chayalim kedoshim and their families, for them, that 100%. I would never chas v'shalom. But I remember what happened with Ben Shapiro with the I told you guys in Tel Aviv. It was like, were you there?
Yeah.
It was 2 years ago. And,
I was there.
You were there.
Yeah.
So there was a huge.
Jay Schultz's thing.
There was a huge event with a lot of different politicians and influencers, and Chavrei Knesset members of Knesset were there, and Ben Shapiro was the keynote speaker there. I'm friends with some of the organizers, and I was asked to come and end off the night with Hatikva. And I said, on one condition, that I get paid 1/100th of what Ben gets paid. No, I'm kidding. They're like, I said that, they're like, no, we can't. Can't do it. I was in high school with him. Like, you guys have to understand who he was when we were in school. He was in my brother's class, man. It's amazing that this kid he was like this as a kid, like pointing out to people how they're, whatever. The Tanai was that I'll only sing Hatikva if I sing Ani Mamin also with it. And they said yes. And they said yes. Now, granted, as soon as I finished Hatikva, the crowd, they weren't told, because so they just started gushing. Yeah, but then from what I remember, there was a nice chunk of Chevra that stayed and sang Ani Mamin as well, because to me, there's no way that it can't, that you can just sing Hatikva. There's no way, unless you somehow find the words of Ani Mamin into the Hatikva somehow. I don't know, So now we're going to be speaking about this fourth group. They go weiter, they go forward. And what does that mean? So we're on Daf Pei Zayin, the bottom paragraph of Daf Pei Zayin, in the pages that you have in front of you.
It's easy to speak about Lo Somech Al Oneness. Like, at one level, it's a development level, but it's like, what do you do walking into water?
Let's see. Good Shaila. Good Shaila. Is it an ace if Hashem tells you? If Hashem tells you to move forward, and you move forward, is that an ace?
Did Hashem tell him to move forward?
Why you so? That's what he said.
So, it's not clear though if that's the.
Is it just the
it's not clear when that was said. That's the Shaila.
Exactly right. Was it a conversation between Moshe and Kadosh Baruch Hu?
Well, that for sure was between, But let's see. Bottom of Daf Pei Zayin. הקבוצה שדגלה בהתקדמות ישירה אל היעד הסופי, that's נחשון בן עמינדב, נשיא שבט יהודה, שבט המלוכה, מקבילה, that corresponds to the מפלגה האידיאלית, to the most ideal political party that you could imagine. הימין האמיתי, the real right wing. she'et matza'o, its platform, anu menasim lesartet badapim elu. We are trying, basically what he just said right now is the purpose of this whole sefer. This sefer called Tikkun HaMedina. This sefer is an attempt to present the clearest possible platform of what real right-wing Nachshon ben Aminadav Yidden look like. It doesn't, he said it straight out. B'yameinu hayad, next page, B'yameinu hayad hasofi, where I'm daf pechet now, B'yameinu hayad hasofi, hu le'avi geula le'olam b'vias HaMashiach. In our time, like what's our yad? By them, the destination was Har Sinai. Today, what's our destination? Mashiach. Redemption. Don't be ashamed to say it. This is our yad. Nothing less of it. Not to build a beautiful country that is democratic. That's nothing to do with Hatikva Bat Shnot Alpayim. It's one of the most unfortunate misconceptions that have existed in this country. That is not a high-tech nation. It's a very nice thing. It could be used for the highest things in the world, and it could be used for the lowest things in the world as well. The destination, our Har Sinai, is Geula, is Mashiach. The whole world of the settlements, everything about Aliyah, everything that we're doing here is about redemption. And that has to be a very clearly stated when you're presenting the platform. Today, as we've spoken about many times in this year, when people try to degrade you and try to make you sound crazy, they will actually label you as messianic. And you're wondering, why is that what do you think you're saying? Like, what's wrong with that? It reminds me when I first made Aliyah, I knew pretty good Hebrew because my father always spoke to me in Hebrew. But there were certain catchphrases and slangs I didn't really know. I had a lot of weird things in the beginning, my first few years, because the kids were like, oh, he knows Hebrew, he could talk. And then sometimes I'd say a weird thing, and they're like, because in my mind, I just didn't realize how you say certain things in Hebrew. So one of the things, like one time, a kid wanted to rip into me. So he said, Bona ata astronaut. You're an astronaut. So I was like, I was enamored by NASA growing up as a kid, and I'm thinking, like, that's pretty cool, like, right? And I didn't understand. Like he said, you're an astronaut. I'm trying to understand what does he mean by that. He meant, I guess, in Israeli slang, it's like you live in, at the chai ba'ananim. You're living in the clouds. You're disconnected. But to me, it was like, Gewalt, bring it on, bring it, astronaut, ma. So for us to come up and say right now, we are a party of people that is actually aiming towards that destination, has to be said, has to be clearly stated, not just without busha, but with such pride that that's actually what I'm fighting for, and that's what I'm living my life for, and building my world for. That's what it has to be. And that's what he's saying. We are people that the Yad HaSofi, top of Peichet, the end destination is to bring Geula to the world with the coming of Mashiach. המפלגה האידיאלית, the ideal political party, דוגלת בהתקדמות ישר אל היעד המבוקש. You go straight forward.
Kadima River.
לכתחילה river, yeah. You go straight forward towards what you're trying to attain, and not and not being political, I guess. That's the right word. Actually, not being political. Politics, strategic, pragmatic, yeah. I remember one time I don't know if it's ever happened to anyone here. I don't know how many of you were ever scholars in residences. I'm sure some of you were. And one time I was somewhere in the States, and you could just guess where I was, where it was right after the disengagement, right after the gerush of Jews from their homes in Eretz Yisrael, which we saw how beautiful that panned out. And the president, I think it was the president of the shul, said to me, look, a Jew has to be pragmatic, Sharon was pragmatic. And that's what he was working for. He was being pragmatic. Out of his love and sincere care for Jews, he was being pragmatic. And at that moment, I knew I did not get the check yet for Shabbos. And it was still Shabbos afternoon. I still had to do a Shalosh Shuddis, and I think I had to do an Avdallah concert or something. And I looked at the guy, and I said something that you shouldn't say any day of the week, especially on Shabbos. I'm not going to repeat right now. But I was so stunned that a Jew that looks like me could actually think like that. I was just shocked to my core. In the name of, I'm triggered because of what you said, the word being pragmatic. I was stunned to my core. So when we say over here, like, there's no more conceptia and all those things, like, we're done with the conceptia after October 7th, Chevra, I wish we were. We're not. There's been a hitkadmut, there's been definitely an advancement, but there's still not.
But can I just ask, how do you, I don't have an answer to this, I really want to know, how do you reconcile the same cast of characters that have been so disappointing since, with the conception and everything, all of a sudden, get this pair of cojones? Like, where does that, what is that?
What does that mean?
Where do they get this courage to do these bold moves into Beirut and into Nasrallah and the beepers? Like, where does all of this, it's the same guy?
The shaila is, are they part of the second group? Wait a second. Third or the, no, in this, second. Second or fourth. The second group said, let's fight. But fight without a clear vision of what I'm fighting for. So he says, that falls, the way I understand it is that they're in the second group. If you were doing everything we're doing in Gaza without the plans to resettle the land, we're in tsarot tzrurot. If we're sending one chayal on the ground into Lebanon without the kavana to conquer that whole area, then we're crazy. And it's a chilul Hashem me'in kamal. So the shaila is second or fourth. First and third, we're not even in that parsha. The birur, I would say, is really between the second and the fourth. So that's how I'd explain it. Yes, there is a mindset that says, let's go, let's show the world, we get Haniya. You let us say this online? We get Haniya in Iran. You get the beepers, get all these things. But, and what? What? Kibush, Girush, Hityashvut.
What's the why?
What's the why? Power, to show power? It took thousands of Yidden getting killed in Simchas Torah to show power? What a chilul Hashem. That cannot be what this is all about. We have to figure out, what does the fourth group look like?
In other words, to show power for what? What's the purpose?
Uv'chein ten kovod Hashem la'amecha. That's the type of power we're looking for.
Well, maybe that's what we're here for. It's not like there's one cohesive group and they are number two. Maybe they're number four, but the beginning part, and we're there to drive it home.
Not maybe. That is why we're here, to drive it home. These people that are involved in number two have a chance, and they're doing holy work. Maybe it's subconscious, but it's holy work.
Yeah, for sure.
המפלגה האידיאלית דוגלת בהתקדמות ישר אל היעד המבוקש מבלי לאבד כיוון, without losing focus, מבלי להתיירא מלחצים חיצוניים של האומות המנסות להביאנו בין המצרים, ומבלי להיסחף להשקעת כוחות במאבקים המסיחים את הדעת מהעיקר מהיעד הסופי. He's saying the fourth group works with a shita that says, we do not take into consideration any international pressure whatsoever. And I know that sounds scary, right? That sounds scary?
Not really.
I don't know, to me it sounds much scarier that you endanger the life of thousands of holy soldiers when America is calling the shots of how things will go over here.
Look what's happened in the last 2 weeks since we've mostly stopped paying attention to
It's
this.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Much more successful.
Yeah, yes.
Like, for those of us that are thinking, hey, I'm group 4, I got this. We need to go ahead and settle this land. Gaza, he's talking about Lebanon, even our own areas around us. Like, it comes, you talk about it, don't worry about international pressure, it comes with a very real cost. Like, so for example, I was leading this lawsuit against the Biden administration and they're putting sanctions on settlers. It's kind of like something that's out there, you don't think about it much, but it's actually much deeper than that. Like, I saw, like, Zamdish from Amana is having sanctions put on him. This is an organization that like really helps Tachlis put boots on the ground in a lot of these areas to take over like building in a lot of these
But he
areas.
got personal
So
sanctions?
that means a
Just
guy like
announced
you,
this morning,
a guy like you or me decides to go ahead and say, hey, I'm group 4. I remember Ginsburg told me, don't worry about international. Okay. All the Zells are done. All your PayPals are done. All that stuff, they like you need to be prepared to go up like that. That's what international pressure looks like.
Tell me the alternative.
I-
Tell me the alternative.
Is it any less than your son in Palsar Golani going into Lebanon right now? So that was my thought. All these Chaylim are dying. Okay, so I
true.
lose my bank account for a little
What's
bit.
the alternative?
It's actually putting that in. I'm not telling you that like just like in our own selves we can sit and learn and understand practically because like you want to do this already. I want to close the deal. This is what it might look like. You need to know how far am I prepared to go? How much do I really mean it? How much do I like Nachshon sounds great. Like we all love a good old Nachshon. But like just understand I'm thinking of my own self. Like it's forcing me to think, hey, this is what it takes. Yes, that's what you want. This is what like you need to know what category do you fall into?
Right.
A lot of you go in the fourth group,
Right.
take all your money out of the bank and keep it in cash, and now you're fine.
I'm just.
But
I'm
you
just.
wouldn't check it.
That's
No,
one practical
I'm still
thing.
asking what's the alternative.
Well, to kick the can down the road.
Hedge your bets a little
You're
bit.
right, it's, I think,
So it's the third group that you're.
That's better than it's
Yeah.
closer to 4, but yeah.
So we'll meet again October 7th.
But there's only one group that's going
Oh,
to
yes.
No, yes, we'll meet. Yes, you want to go there? Yes, it's. And I'm just saying, by the way, I received a call at 2 o'clock in the morning yesterday from my son David, who said, "Hey, I'm just calling you. They're taking away our phones, which means because we are going in, we have a mission. It's not supposed to be for a long time, but it's specific. But like, oh my gosh, like that's."
Toby right now is on his way to the Chermon to drop off stuff by Ozzy. It's up. It's all we're in this right now.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
But the question again, the alternative becomes again like the alternatives have not worked. They've only made the matzav here more confusing. Yeah, Eli.
I was going to say, it's going to happen anyway. We read Eicha every year and we don't pay attention.
Right.
We're always wondering, what happened? How did we become?
Right.
Why did we get messed over? We relied on the nations and look what happened to us. And it's like, it's going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
You have a choice of either you have to prepare, right? You have to prepare because there's ways of being pragmatic. But you have to be out in front knowing full well what could happen, but knowing that it's going to happen whether you like it or not. So get yourself in gear, figure out what it's going to take, think outside the box, think 360, but realize it's either going to happen to you or you're going to make it happen. You have to just move.
If I could, just for a moment, we have to, all these parallels to equivalents in our time of political groups that we can identify with. Nachshon was a Yafi. He wasn't a Miflaga. He went by himself until Yam Suf actually split.
Mm-hmm.
The Dugma seems to me is Yechidim taking action as opposed to, there is no group 4. There isn't, unless you see one that I somehow don't identify, I don't know any group that I would say they're the closest I could think of as a group 4.
Was he a Yachid? There's no one that followed him?
Well, no, right afterwards. They followed.
He went to his,
Afterwards, they
the
followed.
water came up to,
So it was open.
No,
Right.
just because he was leading doesn't mean there wasn't a lot of people like, I'm
the
with that
water came
guy.
up to his nose, Yam Suf split, and then he had a big membership drive.
Well,
But
we haven't yet. He hasn't yet. The platform is not. Let's see what else he says about the platform of this group. Let's see. Let's see what he says. Let's see how he's describing. Let's go forward. Let's see how we haven't yet. He's still describing to us what this actually looks like. Hayamin ha'ideali dogel b'matzah shel chesed k'lapei amenu v'k'lapei yedideinu ha'amitiyim. We're not this group of people that just hate everyone. He says, no, we show love and chesed and kindness to all of our real friends in the world. וזאת לפני נקיטת כל יד קשה, ואפילו כנגד אויבינו המושבעים. He's saying the first stage is not over here, let's wage war with whoever we think needs to be shut down, and then extend our hand with peace and love to all of our friends. He's like, we're Anshe Chesed. It's in our DNA. We are true lovers of, I've never been more proud to be Argentinian, let me just tell you. This guy is just out of this world. It's not to be believed, This guy showed up again. He goes to the UN, but where does he stop from the airport? He goes to the Rebbe. He goes to the oil again. This guy's insane. Meaning that there are some friends out there. There are some friends out there in the world. But he's saying the first shlav, before any, not b'shat milchama, obviously. Shat milchama, time of war, you demolish the enemy. But in general, going out into the world, no. Who are the friends? Where's the love? There is love out there. Make sure that's established and very clear. Kol shlavei hamatzah, all the phases of the platform, ba'im mitoch ol hayom habokeh me'afilat halayla. They're coming out from the light of the day that is bokeh, that is cracking through the darkness of the night. Mitoch shinui harosh mimuda'ut chitzonit va'atuma, she'ina ro'a davar me'ever lefnei hashetach, וחווה רק עוינות וקושי מן המציאות, למודעות אלוקית המאמינה שהכל לטובה, כיוון שהשם, עצם הטוב, הוא כל המציאות. So there's something essential for people in this party. What's that part? What is he saying is essential? The da'at, the awareness that Hashem is the only reality, and if Hashem is the only reality, everything really is good, and I'm going from there. I'm not going from a place of darkness and anger and pain. And I'm saying I'm a person that is spiritually one with the emet of the world, that Hashem hu Elokim. From there I operate. Now it gets even more, a little bit depressing for us when we look at those people out there as they're calling shots. Is that where they're operating from? Are they operating from a place of Hashem hu Elokim and the da'at that Hashem is the only real reality? Miflaga zo, this party, be'emunata hatmima ba'Hashem, their simple faith in Hashem, u'be'ahavata hashlema le'am Yisrael, and from sincere love for Am Yisrael, tekadem et yadav ha'mitiyim shel Am HaYehudi, they will be the ones that will advance the true destination of the Jewish people. Anyone else is just leading us in circles. Right, left, it doesn't matter.
This description could describe group 3.
3, yeah.
So far.
It could describe group 3, the ones that are saying I'm going to run into the desert and preserve Yiddishkeit.
Exactly.
Right.
Ma'ana.
Could, 100%. השקפה זו, this השקפה, הוא המוחין של העולם הרוחני הגבוה ביותר, עולם האצילות. This is corresponding to the world of Atzilus, to the highest. There's no words for this. What he's saying right now, there are no real words to describe what this actually means, Lamaisai. But he's saying it's parallel and it corresponds to Olam HaAtzilus. In that world of Olam HaAtzilus, it's the greatest spiritual plane a person can be on in this world. Let's see how he describes, for here, this context, what Olam HaAtzilus looks like. Olam zo shona mishloshet ha'olamot ha'tachtonim b'metziuto. This world, the fourth world, or the first world, depends what direction you're looking at it from, is different from all 3 levels that are beneath it in its reality. Why? בכך שכולו חדור מודעות של אחדות הבורא. The guiding light, the emet, the truth, and nothing but the truth, is only the awareness of the oneness of God. That's it. That is probably why the most exciting political moment of this last year was the picture of Bibi putting on tefillin for many of us. Like waiting for that to happen. And could be, some will say it's a political act. Call it whatever you want. It made us feel that if this is the leader of the war right now, this is what the leader of the Jewish people does. This is what he does. He puts on tefillin. Has he put on since then? I have no idea. I don't know. Bibi, you should know, it's very interesting. He's so smart and everything. He doesn't know. He knows very, very, very little about actual Yiddishkeit. Do you know that? Did you see the video of him from this past Friday night?
He's a full-blown Haredi daughter.
Huh?
He's a full-blown Haredi daughter. What did he do?
He had. Let's just address it for a second. Something that you said. We're very close to his daughter and son-in-law. It's a daughter from a previous marriage, and it's true they're the Me'asharim. We've been to the brisses of the children, and the Einikol did a Siyum Shas at his bar mitzvah last year. They're big Breslover Chassidim. And I only had one question when my buddy Danny got married to Noah. That's the daughter. I said, tell me something. Does your father-in-law believe in Hashem? That's all I really want to know. Not what it's like. What's the, how's your shviger? None of those things, Just like that question.
What did he say?
I'm not going to answer. Now I'll go back to the other thing. On Friday night, Bibi, there was a Shabbos dinner after the UN, right? And someone had to tell him what the bracha on Hamotzi was. And then he was like giving out pieces to people, and he didn't even bite it. Meaning, but Hashem wanted him to be in power now, and Bibi has to be surrounded by people that are living with the muda'ut of Achdut Hashem and nothing less.
I think Alam Tzchusa is also he's under tremendous pressure. So he probably knows it, but he just needs, like right now, a lot more help than just getting normal things. That's how I'm
Ashrecha. I hope to be like you one day. So he says that these
circumstances
yeah.
is admirable.
Sorry?
What his position is under the circumstances. It's admirable what his
But we don't want any more b'di'evids. We want lechatchila. B'di'evid, he's a gibor Yisrael. B'di'evid, there hasn't been. Is there anyone in the arena right now you'd rather in there today, right now? 100%. But we're not. But that's a goyish political view of looking at things like that, like considering the circumstances. We didn't come here to build a world of considering the circumstances. We came here to build a world of lechatchila. This is about the real tikva that's 2,000 years old. And that's what we're still trying to aim towards. So, third line, in the second to bottom paragraph, B'Kabbalah mechuna olam ha'atzilut gam b'shem olam ha'achdut. The world of Atzilus is also called the world of oneness, the world of together. There are no personal agendas in this world of Olam HaAtzilut. You are completely emerged within the cloud. Sometimes what leads me to deal with harshness towards the reality that I see is when I remove myself from the achdut and I'm thinking about my own personal salvage. This I will say about Bibi. The world, people say about him all the time, like he's just trying to save his political career and his legacy and everything. At this age, to work as many hours that this guy works with having so many people hating it, come on. It's he's so rich. Do you think he doesn't need this? Again, Ellie, you're rubbing off on me. I'm totally God's listening right now. But Behemet, I was thinking about it the other day. Like he's almost my father's age. The amount of hours this guy is working, the pressure, and the chule. So, the Olam HaTzilut, though, working from that place, really, you're mamash about tefillah. You're a shliach tzibur. Each person is a shliach tzibur. That's the only place you're operating from. בעולם זה אין אלא אחד, והוא השם יתברך המכוון את הכל. Hashem Yisbarach is everything. Now let's go back to what Steve said. Can this still be looked at as the third group?
No.
The ones that run away into the desert and say,
No. They're lacking the
Achdut, yeah.
Well, the deepest level of Amunah, which was Hashem pointing us that way. We're not turning right or left, however you want to look at it. He said that way. We go
Hashem
that way.
pointed us that way. And further is that all of Klal Yisrael fall under the Olam Achdut. Yeah.
What's missing there is the Echad.
Echad is all Yidden. Everyone. Everyone's there.
That group is not worried about the Am. They're worried to preserve their piece of the Am, their piece of the Am, so
Right.
that
Yeah, the Rebbe was also very much into self-preservation, but the definition of the word self-preservation by the Rebbe was a pretty that was a who wasn't under that, considering that self. He even had the whole world under that thing of self-preservation. Al pi Kabbalah, sheyachim shnei olamot liyamin v'shnayim lismol. Two worlds correspond to the right side, and two worlds correspond to the left. Kevan sheyesh bechol tzad mofa elyon v'tachton, because there are higher and lower worlds in each side. There's high right, high left, low left. אומנם כיוון שיש הבדל מהותי ואיכותי בין עולם האצילות לבין שלושת העולמות האחרים, since there is a substantial difference between a valuable difference between Atzilus and the other three worlds, נחשבים כולם כשמאל וכחושך ביחס לאור הימין האמיתי שבאצילוס. Even the right wing is considered darkness in light of real right. Okay?
Lower right is essentially left.
Yeah, and we're going to see it on the chart in a second. בדרך זו אפשר להבין את התופעה התמוהה. Now we can understand how it could be that מפלגות הימין הבלתי מתוקן, the lower right, goes up to power. הן מאמצות מיד מדיניות שמאלנית. And immediately, what do? They adapt a left-wing agenda. Who took the Jews out of the Sinai? Out of Sinai. And out of Gaza. באופן מהותי שייכות גם הן לצד השמאל. Really, they're more שייך to שמאל. ועל כן הן נגועות בחסרונותיו, and therefore they're also blemished by their lackings. So now, lesikum. Now, to get this picture, okay, we'll keep on building up the platform as the Sefer goes along, because Baruch Hashem, there's still plenty to do. But just so that it's clear to us what he drew up over here. So you see the chart over here, lesikum. Look at the four worlds. Atzilut, Bria, Yetzira, Asiya. Atzilut says, what's the shita of life? Nitkadem. Bria says, Nivrach. Yetzira says, let's fight. Now let's do the other one. Asiya says, Nikana. We'll give up and go back to Mitzrayim. So we know that the highest world, Atzilut, doesn't exist yet. But the second one, Bria, that says Nivrach, so who could that be again, just so that we understand this? Who falls under this category?
Right.
Lower right, or he was even saying...
The right that attaches itself, allows the left in.
I'm not saying names. I'm not saying names. I'm just...
Self-preservation.
Yetzira, Nilachem is the right, lower right. Bria, Nivrach, is higher left. And that's why many of the religious parties, like we said last time, the ultra-Orthodox parties, at times, when it's good, have joined the left. When we gave examples of it last week. So the Yetzira, Nilachem, is lower right, and then Asiya, Nikana, is lower left. Yeah, Josh.
So the idea of the top party here in today's day and age, even after October 7th, at this point, we still say if they form a political party right now, they're still getting 0 seats.
I don't know. Is that what polls say? I don't know.
No, I'm asking. I'm saying that is the ideal that we're striving for.
It doesn't exist. Yeah.
You're saying it doesn't exist at all?
I think that it has to. I think that if it would exist, the way it would be presented would have to be so. Listen, when I was by Rav Ginsburg last time, the second to last time, I asked him. Do you remember? Now, without mentioning names, I asked him about someone. I said, "Is this the person that you know that?"
I think you told us here already.
You already said it here.
Said, yeah.
I asked him, and this was very hard for me to hear. I asked him about Moshe Feiglin. I said, because to me, no one represents the way he so far represented the platform of Atzilus, then the word, the concept of nitkadem, more than Moshe Feiglin. Every single word the person has said since 91, 92, Zohar Tzenu days, is unfortunately right. And I say unfortunately because we have a lot of unfortunate prophets that have lived, and some of them have been killed. What we're saying over here, so I asked him, I asked him, I said, what about Moshe Feiglin? And whatever, I don't want to get too into this because it's nothing personal, because to me Moshe Feiglin is a hero. And I hold by everything Moshe Feiglin says. I guess we need more like a Hasidish, and he has it in him. He's Lubavitch from home, Feiglin. So it doesn't exist. I don't know if he would run today. If today, the way he is right now, if he'd go and say I'm running, right? Which if there were elections today, he would say he's running. I don't know. What would it be?
He's never been able to get trial.
He's never been able. He's never been able.
No, he was once able, and he almost had a big miflaga. And he got a little bit of hubris and went on that show and tickled the guy's feet. And
Right, that was
really,
a little weird.
It was super weird.
Yeah.
And it really
You guys know what he's talking about? Ari will send it out. It's a very
I don't want to
awkward.
It was like 4 elections ago?
Probably, but which means like
He was
last
set
year,
to
yeah.
get- he was supposed to get between 8 and 12.
Yeah. He came. Jonah was in his. Jonah was waiting for him in the event where they. Yeah.
He told me he was getting 14. I met with him one-on-one. He told me he was getting 14.
I think he really believed so.
And he got 0.
Polls said 8.
He told me 14. Maybe it was that tickling on whatever it was.
What happened?
It wasn't.
It was the greatest disappointment of whatever that election was. I don't know what it is. So again, Olam HaAtzilut, the first group, is the one that says Nitkadem. What political platform are they? They're the ideal party. When it comes to Yamin and Small, it's their Yamin Elyon, higher right, and it's shaykh to the right. But then he says the next 3, now this is hard for us to stomach, that the next 3 really corresponding more to the left than to the right. The ones that say Nivrach, which are the religious parties, the ultra-Orthodox religious parties, they're higher left. The ones from Yitzhira that say let's fight, that's the right-wing parties, but they're the lower right, which in the bigger picture is left, because they end up, Bibi could have canceled the Oslo Accords 5 million times. How could it be that those accords still stand? Ech yachol liyot? If not for international pressure or whatever it is.
Further with the white courts, with him.
Hashem Yishmar. Sorry? That's the lower right. And then Asiya says, I'm just going to give up. And we'll make it a new Middle East. Hashem Yirachem. The Singapore of Middle East. And those are the left parties. That's lower left and that's complete left. So the ideal party, according to this, still doesn't have, meaning it's up to this generation to write out its platform and to daven to Hashem Yisbarach that if there's not going to be one Nachshon, there's got to be many Nachshons here. And that we still didn't address your question, saying, is it dependent on one person to come? Is this like Mashiach? Is this the figure of Mashiach? Or is it a group of people that are forming the consciousness of Mashiach? Yeah, yes?
This is really good because it helps try to clarify where we need to be as a collective. And it also hits us personally, what we need to do to get there. But on the other hand, I can't help but look at the current situation and through history, and just to bring this down to reality. So you talk about what parties? So somehow just a few points I want to read. One is these guys of the right, let's say, that get into that position, somehow always things look different. That's just the way that it's been. Those are the facts of the matter. Right? Our biggest right-wing guy, Sinai, and Kadima. It's just that's the way that it's worked. Another thing I want to raise, just like someone like Ben Gvir, for example. Let's just say he says seemingly right-wing or hard truths, or seems to be MS Dickens kind of guy in some ways, but in many ways, but practically, he has very little influence. Practically, we're not getting represented enough. Our views, this isn't even making a dent, might be 0 seats. Practically, he can't take these hard truths and turn it into a political victory. He can't do the back and forth or the favors. So it's this is great conceptually. I'm not even sure. I guess the thing is, I have trouble. Does this work in this world?
So I'm going to go back to the first question that I asked you, which is, what's the alternative? Which you still don't have an answer for, or the answer is to continue this. And your grandchildren are going to be in your sun situation, chas v'chalila, or we truly campaign for the greatest mass aliyah of super consciousness that ever existed before, of God-fearing Jews filled with love for Am Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael and Torah Hashem, and change the numbers on the ground. Don't give me that cynical laugh. Don't give me that cynical laugh. Even if they all came, it's the beginning. It's not the end.
But if they were there
It's
when
the
they
beginning.
here, like this guy, did someone have to campaign for him? No, he just did.
It's the beginning.
You had a place to come.
Going back to what you were saying, I was thinking about it, was that if you look back at Yam Suf, what happened was the other three parties, they actually followed in National Medina. So they wanted to run and hide, they wanted to battle, they wanted to run back, but they all taka transformed and they transitioned into that mindset. So it's not that we need to create something new, it's that there has to be a transformation, and all those ones end up becoming that. It's the power of the Yachid that actually changes it.
That's what I
I
was
think
saying.
it's not that we have to create something new. We have to. We all gonna have to change, and that's what's gonna happen right now.
Yeah.
So that's what happened then, and I think that's why what happened.
Never before has it been clear that if you're not heading that way, you're heading to October 7th. It's never been clearer before. There's no...
You're upward or going down.
Yeah. In the Yiddishkeit, it's called halacha because if you're not walking, you're standing still means stand still and come conquer me. There's no other way. Again, this is still the middle of the Sefer. And this is, listen, anyone that walks out of a shir and says, I found the emes, now I have to spread it to the world, we're like, hold on. Make sure certain things are really in check with you. Are you in love with Am Yisrael? Are you in love with the Ribbon Shleilam? Are those things real entities in your life? Don't you dare speak in the name of the Klal unless those things, it's crystal clear that that's the place that you're operating from. And that's why the Avodas HaNefesh, the spiritual alignment, the spiritual outline of any of this type of platform has to be a spiritual revolution. It must be, yes, Eli.
There's also a difference. National one. So he walked in. There was no downside from the standpoint of Am Yisrael. If he didn't make it, so he didn't make it. But his action couldn't possibly cause harm to anybody else. It's different when you're working with a party, with people. You've got a lot riding, right? Not so simple. So you have to think about too.
We have Baruch Hashem. We have a lot. I'm so lucky that I could say Hashem should give us another year of learning our brains out. So just continue to learn and learn and learn, and that's what it's going to take. We have to keep on learning Torah. We have to keep on growing. We have to keep on loving. And I want to just say what Eli said right now, because Eli Goldsmith, you said it right out. Yidden like this have a place to come to. We have to fill this country with places that Yidden like you can come to. That's the reason we created Machon Zimrat Haaretz. That's the first attempt. 100%. I agree with you. Fully. So we should have the privilege of the work that we do should fill our hearts with amazing, tremendous gratitude that this is what we're doing, spending our time in this world. Ashreinu Matuch Elokeinu. Weiter.